Well, it's been about 30 years since I was in Greece. I did it, let me think, my first year working, I went island hopping down there, so it's changed quite a bit. EasyJet from Gatwick is a 3-hour flight. You add on a couple of hours, so it's quite a big time difference. I think you leave at 1, get in about 6. You stamp your passport, obviously, and then to get into the centre of town, the hotel is near a place called Monastiraki Square. You can jump on the metro. The last time I was there, it didn't have a metro. You jump on the metro, €9 for the ticket, got off at Monastiraki Square and stayed in a hotel called the Clepsydra Suites. Room was nice, kind of nice little setup. I've stayed in more luxurious hotels, but what actually made it was the people were wonderful. So the reception staff were fun and helpful and had lots of advice and were caring, and the room was good as well. It was clean and it had a good location. Once you're there, aim for Monastiraki Square. Monastiraki Square is kind of on the edge of the old town. It's on the edge of the retail and commercial bit. It's next to a tube station. Really, that's where you want to aim for, and this is Monastiraki Square. It's super bright, so I'm going to put my sunglasses on. Up behind, you can see the Acropolis, and it's Sunday morning, and I've not been to Athens for about 30 years, and it's fantastic. So, unlike Spain, where everything is dead on a Sunday, just outside the hotel, about 5-10 minutes walk away, there's this maze of flea markets, really authentic flea markets as well. It's not like they're all full of kind of stuff from China. This is proper junk that we all probably threw into landfills in the 80s and 90s. But it's really good, very, very authentic. And then of course you've got all this great history behind. The temperature's perfect, probably 20 degrees as well. So this was on the Sunday, and it was just a day of exploring. These flea markets have some treasures, they have some junk. There was interesting stuff that we used to have and then threw it away. So it was kind of it was good to reminisce, and everything was open, which was this big difference from Spain that I mentioned. As well as having the flea markets, there was kind of a standard like market like this that was selling shoes and clothes and army surplus, and there was jewelry and trinkets and food and tourist stuff. And then if you go through that, then there's kind of like a broad promenade, walkway, pedestrianised area that will take you up to the entrance into the Acropolis. And there's restaurants locally too, so these bike sidecar outfits. And then if you follow that road up, that would take you up to the Acropolis. And the good thing about Athens is that you can always use the Acropolis as a little bit of a landmark. This was actually in the evening, but you kind of get the vibe that there's this large pedestrian road that takes tourists from one end of the town just to the other end of the town. So as is traditional in many places in Europe, on May the 1st it's a demonstration of workers' rights and conditions. No different here in Athens, the home of democracy. So what we've got is a little area in the centre of town. And there's a police presence, but that's the first police presence really that I've seen since I've been down here. And I think there's quite I was going to say strong communist kind of movement within Greece, but it's not that strong. But it's good to see all this. I love a little bit of workers' power. It was like when I was in Paris the other week. I love a little bit of that. So anyway, police are all here, looking after it all. There's some guys on bikes that are zooming up and down here. They've got Suzukis. The police here ride Suzukis as opposed to BMWs. And all this is cordoned off because I assume that there's going to be a march coming up and down here. It all looks pretty good, doesn't it? Anyway, and there's TV crews here. Inevitably, I'll probably be on the Greek telly later. So let's see how we go on. Just to the east side of the Acropolis is a park, and in the park there's this feature here, which is Socrates prison. So Socrates philosopher, about 400 years BC, and nothing of his was actually written down, but it comes to us basically through Plato. And he had a few good principles, and one of them was that the only thing I know is that I don't know anything, which is a lovely way to go through life. Actually, you meet some people that are real smart asses and think they know everything, but actually if you go through life thinking there's always more to learn, that's a nice way to live your life. But anyway, he was convicted of impiety for trying to teach teenagers, lead them astray, not that way. And so he was forced to take his own life, and he took it by drinking hemlock. And this apparently was his prison. He was convicted one day, and then he took his own life the next day. So he couldn't have been there for long. Who knows whether he was here or not? Who knows? And there he is. That's Socrates. Not supposed to be the best looking guy in the world, but brilliant mind. So it's about 8 o'clock here, and the Acropolis is behind me. There's two entrances to the Acropolis. There's one on the southwest side and there's one on the southeast side. The southeast side one is quieter. The thing to do is to buy your tickets online, and then you can kind of skip the queue and you just kind of walk in. If you get here early, one, it's cooler, and two, there's not a massive queue. A lot of the tourists arrive about 10 o'clock there during the middle of the day, and that's when the queues get busy. So if you get here like before 9, you're probably okay. Tickets to the Acropolis complex are about €20, but for €30 you can get one that gets you into all of the archaeological sites. So you can just see the corner of the Parthenon just at the top there, and then as I scoot around, that street that runs along there, this dump truck's going to go along it, that gets full up with tourists. And this is the Acropolis Museum just behind me, which has got, lots of good artefacts, missing some though that are in London, a bit controversial, but a little bit of politics. Right, so let's crack on. So it takes about 30 minutes to get from the entrance gate up to the top of the Acropolis, and the Acropolis is this high city. Behind me is the Parthenon, which is the blueprint for how many municipal buildings around the world, from libraries to theatres to courts to town halls, in many cities everywhere. Beautiful, like monumental scale, really nicely sized and shaped. That's heading east, and then over on the other side, just let me come over, there you go, kind of over there is the Erechtheion. I'm going to check the pronunciation of that. So that's the Parthenon, and the crane inside should indicate that they're actually reconstructing it, the scaffolding. That's the Temple of Athena, and this is the Erechtheion. And again, they're kind of rebuilding it all in progress. So when you go, you'll see it's different. This is the Erechtheion. There's a hole in that roof there from where Poseidon's trident smashed through it and hit the ground and created a saltwater spring. And that olive tree is a replacement for one that was cut down by the Persians. Very interesting. It was busy. I could imagine, like in the height of summer, it would be painfully hot. So do just be aware. If you travel by wheelchair, or if you're a little bit infirm on your feet, there is a lift up the side, and as you can see, which means that it's more accessible for people. And it's got this fantastic position, obviously above the city. Acropolis means high town or high city, and it is spectacular. It is monumental. Really, really impressive. I'm glad that we got there early though, because by the time that we were on the way down, big queue coming in, and this wasn't high season. And down at the bottom by the main entrance, there was this, kind of quite substantial queue coming in. So after doing the Acropolis, I came down to the markets area, which is fantastic. I always love going to a market, and there's a meat and fish market. The fish market has got lots of octopus and squid and tuna and sardines, and then obviously the meat market's got kind of lots of goat, so a surprisingly good amount of beef. And then this is the fruit and nuts and spices market. So I've topped up with olives and cashew nuts and some oranges. It's really lovely.